We're continuing on with our recipes for Thanksgiving. We're sitting here, Thanksgiving is 2 weeks from yesterday, so we've got about 13 days. So I'm gonna try to get you a couple recipes a day here for the next week or so that you have time to plan your meal. These are gonna be keto today. Most of our things that we do are keto. Normally I'm also dairy free, and so I'm gonna give you the changes you can make to use dairy, because that can easily be substituted in most of these as well. And occasionally I will use dairy, and I'll tell you when I do and why. So, but today we're gonna make two different kinds of pumpkin. Right now I'm gonna do just a crustless pumpkin pie. I have done the keto pie crust. I've never been a big pie crust fan. It just doesn't do much for me. I really just like the pumpkin filling and the whipped cream. Right, so we're gonna start out. I'm gonna do a half a recipe today because I've got to do this again here in 2 weeks, but I do want to show this for you today, so feel free to double this because I'm literally going to give you a half recipe today. We're going to do a half a pumpkin can. Now this is pumpkin puree, and the reason I'm doing a half a can, again, it's going to make half, and I'm going to make a second recipe in a minute that's going to be pumpkin cheesecake bites. So you can see this is just organic pumpkin puree. Make sure that you get the puree, that you do not get the pumpkin pie filling. The pumpkin pie filling already has sugar and things in it. It is not keto friendly. So make sure that you get that. To this, I'm going to add 1 full egg and 1 egg yolk. Okay. Again, that's because I cut this in half. And so because I did that, anytime that you're halving, and it's an odd number like that, you don't want to short your eggs, but you do want to make sure. So I generally speaking prefer the yolk. The yolk is where the fat is, and for keto, we like the fat, so that's not an issue. So I have half a can of pumpkin and 1 egg plus 1 egg yolk. Okay, we're going to do just a little bit of vanilla and some pumpkin pie seasoning. About a teaspoon of pumpkin pie seasoning. Okay, and we're gonna stir this up. Oh, it smells good already. That pumpkin pie seasoning is so good. So basically, pumpkin pie seasoning is cinnamon, ginger, cloves, usually a little bit allspice. It's not something that you typically use those other spices. You probably have cinnamon in your cabinet. You may have ginger, but allspice and cloves are things that we use very often. And so I just find, since I only use them once a year, and you should dispose of your any spices after a year. If you've got them open, haven't used them, they just lose their potency and their flavor, and they're just not good anymore. So I just go ahead and buy the seasoning. To this, I'm going to add, this is 1/3 cup of monk fruit allulose. I use the Bestie brand. There's nothing else in it. There's no ethanol in this, so no sugar alcohols. I'm also going to add, you can use Swerve if that's your thing. I find they have a little bit of an aftertaste, so it's not my preference. I'm going to add a good tablespoon, and this is also monk fruit, but this is the brown sugar of it, because I just like a little bit of that brown sugar for flavor. I just really think it's nice for flavor. Okay, I'm going to stir this up good. Next, we're going to add 1/2 cup. Now this time, I quite often do this with evaporated coconut milk. However, I wanted to make this with dairy today. So this is actually half and half. If you had heavy cream, you could use that as well. The reason I did the half and half is because I was able to find it lactose free. And because we don't do dairy, we can tolerate a little bit of dairy with lactose free. So I'm going to share this with my neighbors, and I did want to do dairy today and be able to share this with you. So that is 1/2 cup of half and half. You can also use evaporated milk, or you can use cream, whichever you prefer, just depending on how many carbs. The least amount of carbs, if you're really watching that because you're in the weight loss phase of doing keto, the least amount of carbs is going to be the heavy cream. So that's going to be what you're going to want to use for that. And then I'm going to add just a tiny bit, 1 good tablespoon of coconut flour. You can see this regular Bob's Red Mill coconut flour. And this is going to kind of help it hold together, because when we're putting these pies together, we want them, but they're not going to have a crust or anything. And so what I'm actually going to put them in is This is a silicone baking cup. So we will put them in here. They will bake in here on a sheet. And then when they're done, we're going to take these out and let them cool completely. And then they will just be able to pop right out. And so because of that, we want to make sure that they have just a little bit of structure to them. And that tablespoon of coconut flour, really coconut flour, a little bit goes a long way. So do not add extra of that. You're going to find your batter is pretty thin right now. You can kind of see how thin this is. So this is pretty thin, this batter, okay? And then we're gonna just pour this. I'm gonna move you over here with me. And we're gonna just pour this right in these cups. You wanna do about 2/3 full. I did go ahead and line my baking sheet with parchment, just so it catches any messes and makes the mess easier to clean up whenever we're done. If anything does spill or bubble out, I don't have a big mess to clean up. So we'll fill these up. I have the oven going at 350, and we will bake these in the oven until they were firm, and that's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes. And then they will chill, and then we will literally just pop these right out once they're chilled, and have them with our whipped cream. So I'll put these in the oven, and I'll be back to show you what they look like when they're done. Hey! All right, so we're on to our second pumpkin dessert that we're making for Thanksgiving. I have put here 8 ounces of cream cheese. This is real cream cheese. You can use a dairy-free cream cheese if you like. If you do, I prefer the Mykonos. This is a lactose-free cream cheese. And so we have found that we can tolerate the dairy if we do lactose-free. So we've been doing a little bit of that, especially for the holidays and things when we're going to have other people over. Because the dairy-free sometimes is so expensive, and also often it has more carbs in it. And if I'm trying to watch carbs, sometimes it can be a challenge because just of the way that it's made. So I just added 1/3 cup of this is an allulose monk fruit granular blend. I order mine online, and it's by Bestie. You can use whatever one you like. A lot of people like Swerve, stevia, whatever your sweetener preference is. I do find that the allulose monk fruit has the least aftertaste, in my opinion. So I think it tastes the closest. So you can see this is just really, how nice and creamy that is. Okay, so to this, I'm going to add a 1/2 can of pumpkin. I only have a 1/2 can because I've already used the other 1/2 can making crust-free pumpkin pies. So you can watch the other video for that. If you wanted to double this recipe, you certainly could. I do that all the time. So that was a 1/2 can of pumpkin. And then I'm going to add about a tablespoon. And this is just a brown sugar monk fruit. Again, I just kind of like the flavor in with the pumpkin. So I don't want to do a lot of it, but I am going to just kind of do a little bit because I just really feel like it adds a really nice depth of flavor. I'm going to mix this up really nice. Get it without creamy, so it mixed really, really nice. We're going to add some vanilla now. And I'm going to add pumpkin pie spice. Now pumpkin pie spice, it has cinnamon and cloves and ginger and usually some allspice in it. You should be replacing your spices, be about 1.5 teaspoons of the pumpkin pie spice. You should replace your spices yearly. So I keep cinnamon on hand because we use that quite a bit in baking, and I buy the big one from Costco, and I can go through that in a year, sometimes less if I'm doing a lot of baking. But the other spices that I don't use, except during the holidays, it just doesn't make sense for me to keep allspice and cloves. I just don't use it enough. So I go ahead and I buy the spice blend because it makes more sense. And to this, I'm gonna add 2 eggs. And that's it. We're gonna mix those eggs up a little bit here on top. Mix them in and keep stirring. I'm gonna get a spatula real quick, because we want to make sure that we really kind of scrape this down on the sides, and we don't want any of this mixture to not have all of that mixed in. And so I can really scrape the sides down. Can you see how you can watch it go? See, I can make sure that I get all of it and kind of get it really scraped down. And then now all I have to do, okay, scrape this off a little bit, is we're going to just pour this into our cupcake tins. Now I am using a silicone standalone cupcake tin. I put these on a cookie sheet. We will cook these in here, and then they will completely cool, and then they can be completely popped out. This is especially important because with these, we're not going to put a crust or anything in, so we need something of a little bit more substance. Oh, and I almost forgot. We're going to add real quick here a little bit of coconut flour. Speaking of substance, we're going to do just a nice tablespoon of coconut flour, and that will give our cheesecake a little bit of substance. And I'm actually going to use a whisk to do that. Coconut flour is a nice addition. It's very keto friendly. It doesn't add many carbs, adds a slight bit of sweetness. And with this pumpkin and all these spices, you will not be able to taste that coconut flour at all. Okay, I'm going to move you over here with me. And then we're just going to fill these up. And you can see this is really, it's quite runny. We're going to fill them up about 2/3 of the way. We have our pumpkin pies in right now, the crustless pumpkin pies, which are baked in the same containers as these. And so we'll be swapping those out here in a minute. And then I will come back and show you both of them. The other thing I'll be making probably tomorrow, I've been working on a recipe for a sugar-free pecan pie. And so that one is another one. Pecan pie, if you're not aware, you haven't made it, is also basically custard based. So that just means it's egg and milk and sugar. So it's not real hard to take that out. We'll be using these again. We'll be using these little containers again to do these. And I've got enough here, I think, for one more. That's what's really nice I like about using these, is that unlike doing a dozen of the cupcake tins, that's all you have. With these, I have 24 of them, and I just keep them in this little container. And so I have 24, and so it's really nice that I can just take however many I need. And in this case, it looks like it was 11 is what these made today. So we're going to get these in the oven as soon as our pumpkin pies are done, and then I'll be back to show you both of them. So we'll see in a little bit. Okay, so we got our pumpkin pie bites and our pumpkin cheesecakes out of the oven. I have put them all onto one cookie sheet to put them in the fridge to let them chill. Oops. So this is what they look like, and you can tell the lighter colored ones. This is the cheesecake, and then the darker colored ones, these are the pumpkin pie bites. Now I've gotten 2 of these already out for you. So these here, I've already gotten these out. All I did to take these out was just take a spoon and just go right around like this, and then slide underneath and scoop it out. You could, though, if you wanted to, you could totally just serve those in the in these if you wanted to do it that way. Easy either way. Now I'm going to use, so I'm taking it, this True Rib, which does happen to be a dairy-free one. If you're doing keto, you absolutely can do some heavy whipped cream. If you've not done that before, you want your whipped cream and your roll to be cold, not frozen cold, but you want them to both be cold. And then you're going to add, I prefer doing the powdered monk fruit or allulose blend. I don't like the ethanol in it, and I like just a touch of vanilla with that. I find that's really, just adds really a nice flavor to it. Now I'm gonna cut these open so you can see how creamy and nice these are. You remember these are sugar free. So, it's the pumpkin one, it's so good. This is one of my favorite things. And this one is the cheesecake. Also good. You love cheesecake. So creamy. Okay, can you kind of see how creamy this is? When I cut this open, it is just so nice and soft and creamy. And that's exactly how you want pumpkin pie to be. And the cheesecake's got just a nice little bite to it. Just like pumpkin cheesecake should be. Now, if you wanted to cheat a little bit on either of these and you wanted some type of crust, a really easy one to do would be to get the ginger snaps and put one in the bottom before you poured your mix in. Now that's going to add some carbs and sugar, and it'll depend on which one you get. They do have some gluten-free ones if that's something you are concerned with. I've not seen any keto ones. The closest one you're going to get to Kilo, High Life makes one, and that's going to be a keto friendly. It's not going to be sugar free, but it'll be keto friendly and it'll be a lower sugar. And you could put those in the bottom if you wanted to. The other thing you could do is you could take one of those ginger snap cookies or some toasted pecans, and you could sprinkle them right on top and add a little bit of flavor that way. So just be creative with it, enjoy it. I love doing these individual ones. It makes it so much easier for people to take things home, for me to put things away. My husband will grab these and put them in his lunch. And we're going to be sharing these with our neighbors since we're going to be having Thanksgiving here in a couple weeks. I don't exactly need 20 of these, even though they are keto and low sugar. That's a lot, knowing Thanksgiving's coming, right? So anyway, so we're going to share these with our neighbors. I hope that you will try them. And when you do, would you please let me know how it turned out for you? All right, have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll do some more recipes tomorrow.